And in other news, still on Zimbabwe, the finance minister there, Mthuli Ncube, has accused government contractors of channeling funds to the black foreign exchange market and contributing to the spiraling exchange rate and price instability. In a statement, Ncube threatened to take stern measures against all government contractors who are manipulating the exchange rate, as he says, by freezing bank accounts, blacklisting companies and directors, seizing funds and banning them from participating in government tenders. Vincent Musewe is an economist. He joins us from Zimbabwe via telephone to speak to us about this. So, I mean, there are reports that some of the major companies fulfilling government contracts, especially with the infrastructure boom now in place, allegedly rushed to the black market to buy foreign currency. How exactly is this done? Are you able to share information or knowledge of this practice?
Yeah, well, it's unprecedented, where the government must now start monitoring whatever payments they do to you as a contractor. You know what I'm saying? But the issue is really caused by the issue of lack of stability in the currency market. If I can give an example, let's say you're a contractor with the government, right? They pay you millions of dollars of Zimbabwe dollars for you to do a particular job. And some of the costs of doing that job are actually foreign, so you have to import. Okay? So what you then have to do is go to the bank to try and apply for foreign exchange. And then if you don't get it, you end up going to the black market to actually source that foreign exchange because you want to deliver that job. So that is a major problem for a lot of contractors in that most of the inputs could be imports and they don't have access to foreign exchange. So they end up going to the power market to get that, and that is obviously pushing the rate up.
So what you're saying is basically by this practice they are boosting demand and fueling the exchange rate instability and of course price increases as others lash onto these rates.
Yes, yeah, because when the rates increase, basically everybody, whether they are affected or not, particularly in the business sector, they're increasing their prices. They're increasing their prices so that everybody's actually suffering from the rate going up, regardless of whether the cost of business have actually gone up. Because we've got a very inefficient economy, and basically there's also lack of confidence in local currency. So anyone who has local currency wants to actually go and buy US dollars. That increases the demand. The rate goes up, prices goes up, and it's really a vicious cycle.
A government announcing that it will pay half of the work done by road contractors and others with infrastructure contracts in US dollars, while the other half will be paid in local currency, with payments spread as part of measures to contain this exchange rate and price spiraling. How do they anticipate doing this, and how are they going to know who is guilty?
Exactly. It's really a blunt instrument because what you're going to have to do now is to monitor payments of each and every contractor, see how they do. It's cumbersome. I mean, it's costly. It's really an inefficient system that you have. And the other reason you must understand in Zimbabwe right now, there's just a lack of trust between government and the business sector. Right, so the government is coming up with these prescriptive policies without actually controlling the business sector, while the business sector is chasing profits. So you're going to have this cat and mouse kind of situation going, and it's not going to stop until we resolve the currency issues. The root of the problem is the currency issues, and also obviously the value system of our business sector, where there is a speculation and very short-term kind of focus because people want to make as much money today. So they'll do whatever they can in order to stay in business. And that is the nature of the environment that is currently in Zimbabwe.
The interesting thing is the finance minister says that the Financial Intelligence Unit of the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe will have to get involved, scrutinize the use of past and present payments made to suppliers to ensure that government is getting value for money. What would be the process here and the terms of reference, if I could just understand?
Yeah, well, I mean, basically you've got the financial intelligence now policing companies. I trying to find out exactly what transaction is going to their bank account and whether it's a valid transaction or not. So you kind of have the policing and trying to find out. And the problem has been that, the transactions in Zimbabwe become so opaque. A lot of people are not banking their money simply because they don't trust the banks. So there's a lot of transactions outside the banking system that they really can never actually get hold of because there is no kind of audit trail of what is happening. So, for me, it's a total waste of time. What the minister must focus on is resolving the currency issue, creating confidence in the currency so that, the currency is not deteriorating so quickly and people don't migrate to the US dollar. But again, it's not only an economic issue. It's also a political issue in that there's so much corruption, and people are just despondent that, the economy will not work as long as the politics is not sorted out. And that creates further lack of confidence in the Zimbabwe dollar, which in turn, results in price instability. So we kind of between, very difficult positions right now in the country.
And I want to look a little bit further at government's own role. So it's appealing to the banks to tighten up the terms of the loans, especially by pushing up interest rates. I mean, isn't that going to also have an impact on the economy? But it's also wanting, it itself is designed to ensure that there's less local currency within the private sector. Government itself has slashed its own contribution to money supply growth. Do you not just see a slow balling of disastrous consequences for the economy?
Yes, remember that the government is collecting a lot of money in taxes in local dollars, okay? They are not taxing in US dollars. So they have to spend that money somewhere, somehow in this economy, whether it's through wages or through particular contracts. They have to deliver some of the, kind of projections regarding infrastructure, for example. So they have to spend this money. So on one side, they have to spend this money, but once they do that, they're increasing the money supply in the system, which is again pushing up, the USD rate. The real only solution has been is right now to dollarize so that we dollarize the economy. But there are also challenges towards that. Because overnight, you basically have to come up with over $1 billion in order to pay people their money that is currently sitting in the bank account as US dollar. So, solution, we are in a crisis management mode. Nothing is going to have a substantial resolution, as I'm saying, until we deal with the issue of confidence. Because if you remember in 2008, a lot of Zimbabweans lost their money because of hyperinflation. And we are basically going that road again. People don't bank their money. People are not confident in the economy. People would rather have the US dollar, and the government is pushing, the other currency. And exactly the same thing happened in 2008. And I'm suspecting that inevitably we're going to end up at the same place.
What about these additional measures that government is also looking at to drive demand from the black market currency, increasing flows into official markets by making net exporters sell a quarter of what they don't spend in 120 days, and also offering gold coins from next week as an alternative and legal way of Zimbabweans preserving the value legally without distorting the economy? Will that work?
Well, you have to understand the structure of the economy right now. Zimbabwe's GDP, 70% of GDP in Zimbabwe is now in the informal sector, okay, which is an unregulated sector. Those people don't bank their money. They are not tied to formal policy measures that are being said. And also 75% of transactions in that sector are in USD. So you get a sense where the minister or the government comes with specific policies, but they are only affecting 30% of the economy. The other economy is just operating in US dollars and is kind of sterile to what the minister is saying. So at the end of the day, we have serious challenges. Number one, we have to restructure this economy so that we reformalize the economy, reindustrialize, and that is going to take a while so that we can formalize institutionally, and so that policy measures can work. But as far as economic policy is concerned, we've seen, for example, they still increase, even if they increase interest rates. Hardly people go to the banks to borrow now, because it's in the informal sector. They don't have the security to go to the bank to borrow money. So they hardly go to the bank. So interest rates are meaningless to money supply because 70% of the transactions are happening in an unregulated economy.
And just a quick one, we were looking at inflation figures in South Africa. Where do they stand now in Zimbabwe, given the external pressures that are being faced globally?
Well, yeah, I mean, that is exacerbated the situation. I mean, we're looking at, for example, in June, I think the inflation figures were 191%, but those are the kind of not agreement on what the actual figures. Other people are saying it's about 300%. And, we import most of our economy. So whatever happens outside, with this price increases and the constraints in the supply chain directly affect us. Right now, for example, we're battling to have enough wheat and cooking oil just like every other country, and that has an impact, obviously, because it's basic goods. That has an impact on inflation and further erosion of purchasing power of an economy that is really, on its knees right now.